Hello, everyone who's joining us either in person or online via the interwebs. Thank you for coming out to our Lunch and Learn presentation. I'm actually going to be Gregory, who is leading Tuesday's Lunch and Learn. We did a little flip-flop here with Jeremy. He'll take over Wednesday. And come on in, let your questions pile in, and we will be glad to assist in just a moment once we get some questions. Please keep in mind that we also have a decisions forum where you can go and visit to be able to possibly find any sort of questions that you've already had answered by someone else who had the same question, as well as be able to pull things from the decision solution marketplace, also on the forum site, by the way. Okay, let's see here. Nothing in our Q&A yet. We got a chat question. Satish, you have a question on the assignment service. All right. Here, let me get over to the proper screen so we can start going over that, and I'll unmute you. All right. This will take me just a moment. All righty. Want to know the difference between get current assignment by user versus get assignment by user email? Um, I can absolutely tell you that difference. Let me unmute you real quick, as well as share my new screen here. Please be the right screen. All right. Y'all should be able to see decisions and only decisions. And where are you, Satish? All right. You should be able to talk now. So let's go into that, shall we? Let's go into our lunch and learn here. And let's just create. You should be able to talk now if you have any additional context you wish to add.
Yes, Gregory. So basically, I created a flow and added this get internal services, and I use the assignment service. And then I see there are two methods: get assignments by user email and get current assignments by user email.
Hmm.
What we are trying to achieve is to send out all the assignments based on the current user email. So we have another portal that's like a common portal to log into all the information systems.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to place some kind of a hyperlink in that portal. There's a work list section there, and in the work list session we would like to display all the assignments that are in decisions over there. And I know how to form that URL. So basically, it's a URL and then followed by assignment ID equal to, and what assignment ID we get from the current user API.
Mm.
So that's what we're trying to achieve. Basically, get all the assignments for the current user, which is in pending status. We want to display it on the user portal. So I thought we could use this delivered API. We'll create a flow just like how you're doing. Create an assignment, and there are a couple of things: get assignments by user email and get current assignment. I wanted to know the difference between these two,
Mm.
and and yeah,
Yes.
basically we don't want to show all the completed assignments. So once the assignment is completed, that should not be sent to the portal team. So
Gotcha. Then you definitely want get current assignments, and I'll show you how that gets marked in the database real quick as well.
mm,
So I'll pull up the query editor just for a better demonstration of what's going on here. So all assignments are going to automatically get saved to the entity assignment table.
okay.
This includes old assignments and new assignments. All right. So you've got all these assignments that are in here. You have the
Okay.
assignment ID. You can fetch it by and use that for later. There are three primary fields that determine kind of what state an assignment is in, outside of like having any sort of entity extension or having it within an entity, but actual like states of the assignment itself. So the
Hmm.
first one over here, here they are. Completed is assigned and is current. So
Okay.
completed tells you whether someone has finished this assignment or not.
Okay.
It is current is a similar function to that, but is
Hmm.
current is what's used to determine whether the user sees the assignment, especially in something like the mailbox. So if the completed is false, but the is current is also false, even though they haven't completed, they won't see the assignment. So, and
Okay.
then is assigned, of course, is just determining whether someone has been actually given that assignment or not. So, your is current determines your portal visibility to users,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes having one without the other, so like having is current be true and completed is false, that's what you want, right? But sometimes you get some that would end up like completed is true and current is true. That's when you end up with assignments that you can still see in the portal, but have obviously been completed and there are no further action that can be taken on them. So what you're setting up should work if you're fetching by all the current assignments, but just make sure I would have some error handling just to confirm that the completed section is in the correct state as well, just so you don't run into any issues.
Okay. So you're saying like if I have an assignment, if I have something assigned to me and I don't have access to that, that will be like current assignment. Is it right?
Right, right. So it's current, but
I don't have access to it, or I don't have visibility to that assignment.
usually that's determined by is current. I should mention
Right.
that. There are some weird exceptions to that, but for the most part, the is current field is what's determining whether you see it or not, and the is completed field, or just the completed field, determines whether it's actually done or not.
Okay. So if I want to fetch all the current assignments, so basically I should be using the get current assignments, right? Not get assignments.
That's
Okay.
correct. You want get current assignments, and all I'm saying is have some error handling to make sure that if is current is true, then completed is false. Because if you have a completed is true, but is current is true, you probably have an assignment in a bad state and you need to fix it.
Okay. Okay. So most probably if is current is true, completed should be false.
Correct. Yeah,
There
that
might be
is.
exceptions, but
Mhm.
and how do we identify that exception? Like, do we need to query it back to
Um,
the table, entity assignment table, or?
that's one way you can do it. And it's very easy to tell if it's in a bad state because you'll fetch it and then
Hmm.
you'll notice that you can't actually perform any actions on it because it's
Yes.
treating it as
Right.
completed.
Right.
Yeah. You can set it with the query editor, yes, or you can do it via a raw SQL step or by a database integration, which would be more performant.
Hmm.
Um, and all I'm saying to do is maybe just have an error handler checker so you don't automatically set all those to completed.
Hmm.
Typically, I see that come up in builds where the person who's creating the assignments is reassigning the same assignment to multiple people back and forth, and sometimes they don't have all the catches in their logic to prevent from it getting into this kind of state.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Got
that's
it.
usually when I see that weird case come up, but it's not common.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So for my use case, I can just create a flow just like this and expose it as another API, correct? I have to
right.
expose this flow as an API and give that to our portal team. That it will work.
Right, right. You can absolutely do that. I can just go to integrations, databases. I can connect with the local host that I'm automatically on right now, right? Because
Mhm.
uh, as long as I specify the same one, or I can just make a query against local host, right? If I go to data structures, create data structures, database integration, add query,
Okay.
and then I just choose my local connection. Or if, you're trying to
Run
edit
it.
it from somewhere else, just pick whatever that's called. But
Okay.
yeah, here you can create a method to automatically do that for you instead of having to use a raw SQL step. I do recommend this because it's typically more performant.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, Henrik, thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So cool, cool. I see our next question in the chat is Lucas. I see you're tagging Robert directly. Let me see if we can tag team this then. Are you able to send me the flow we worked on yesterday in V8? Additionally, any headway on the max value progress? Um, I can get you that flow. Do we? I will check on the progress of that, Lucas, and I'll make sure that the one that we built yesterday gets out to you. I do not currently know as far as the max progress. I have a flow that does get the max value, but it's not the most performant yet. So I want to look for a better solution for you first. Because I feel like there's an easier way to do it than the way that I've got it configured. I can show you what I'm doing if you'd like. So where did I make it? Did I make it in validations? I'm gonna see. It might have been this lunch and learn. I make them in different lunch and learns sometimes. Page data, man. Maybe it was in this one. Maybe it was already a flow in here. Yeah, here we go. Luke sorting flow. So here's what I was working on here. And again, we had a much performant build on call, but I had used some logic here. Sorry, I'm trying to hide the zoom bar. It's just not very conducive. I did a create data to initialize a custom data type called totals. I ran a report. And then I had this report grouped by number. So yours is an ID number. I just use an integer to specify the different numbers that could occur, and then just a name following it. So just trying to like expand your use case to more include more details here. I should mention for everyone that's on call, this is based on a previous lunch and learn in which we are trying to get a list of objects and sort them by a particular number. We want to figure out how many there are that have a particular ID and what the maximum one is. So then, because these are grouped, I don't actually have to um, compare every result to each other. I only have to compare it to the previous result because I know I can't get the same result again later. So as soon as I get a different result in my output for that report, let's say I go through all the zeros and I'm tallying them over here, as soon as I get a one, all those zeros get added to a separate list with their count. I refresh this and then it gets added as a one instead, and it counts all the ones, counts all the twos. Or in your case, counts all ID 010 or counts all ID 05 or it counts all ID 031. And then once all that's done, that gets output to the end step here. This was my logic for the comparison for the max value. Because I have the count of everything, all I have to do is just compare one count to the previous count, right? All I'd have to say is, all right, here's the count of all of my lists, all of the IIDs. So like this one had 9 IDs of the same kind, or this one had 7 IDs of the same kind. And then if it just initializes the first one. If the next one is greater than that, it supplants it. If it's not greater, it goes through it, right? So if I debug this, the output I have here is just for the individual counts. So it tells the total count and what the field name is. Yours would say ID 10, ID 5, ID 31. It tells you how many for each of them that there are. But again, this is not quite as streamlined as the method that we created yesterday. So yeah, I'll continue to work on this and I will let you know as far as any more developments that come from this. We want to find the max count of the values in a list. Right. Yeah, so that's the max part that we're trying to find here is the reason I'm comparing those is because those are all counts, right? So all I have to do is compare the counts to each other. That's how I'm finding the maximum. I already have the counts. I'm not comparing IDs. I'm comparing the count of each one. Yeah. So yeah, I'll keep looking for a more performant way to do that. And then I see we have some Q&A ones as well. But let me go to James real quick. Yeah, absolutely, Lucas. Glad to help. Um, or Jim, let me assist with what you got. Let me unmute you here. I'm sorry. Hi, you should be able to talk. Is there a way to determine what project a flow is being executed from? A system variable of some sort. Ooh, interesting. So you're talking about like the flow reports dashboard, right?
I'm just talking about within a flow, like if I wanted to know just what project that flow is being executed from. Like let's say I had some kind of control table that I wanted to plug in the project name into. Is there a, I don't think there is, but I thought I'd ask. Is there a way, is there some system variable out there that knows what project you're currently executing a flow from? Or do I have to look
Hmm.
it up based on the flow ID and all that?
My my thought would be Flow ID because all the projects should be segregated anyway. So if you're ex like you shouldn't be able to go into this project right here and then execute a flow in the other project unless there's a declared dependency between them.
Right, that's true. And I guess the trick is if you're running a flow from within a project, but that project is calling a subflow that is actually in another project, I still want the project that I'm actually running the main flow from to to be the project that I would capture.
I
Um,
see.
because some of those subflows would most likely just be little subflows. We have common little subflows to do this and that. I don't want that common project. I want the main project always to be the one that I would grab if I needed to say what I'm specifically working on is a document table that has all the documents in it, and
Mhm.
I want to populate the project that that document was created in that table. So
You
I
could
need to grab that.
There is a way you could do that dynamically, but it would require a little bit of setup here. So let's go with there might be a more performant way to do this once again, but there is a way that immediately comes to mind that would work. So let's get a create data step real quick. This is more for demonstration purposes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to move all my webinar and chat and stuff. I've got one screen to work with today. So that should just be flow ID. That's a text, that's a string, right? So, and then we should be able to select, not constant, select from flow data. Where is current event session?
Current flow ID is right there in the middle of the screen.
Yeah, let me get that.
Is that what
Current
you want?
flow ID. So let me fetch that real quick. And then
Right, yeah.
if I compare that to the module resource table, that should allow me to do that. So merge plain text is just going to be easier to see. So we want to select all from, oh, it's actually called project name, I think. And I'll confirm this in a moment. Is it ID? And then let me just check this real quick and see if this functions or if I get an error.
Yeah.
It said failed. Error running query, error message, invalid column, project name. It might be one word. Let me
What
confirm
was
that
the,
real quick.
yeah, well, I can get to the query ID real quick.
Oh, good. I mean, I want to make sure that we demonstrate this
What
for
was
everyone,
the
you know?
entity module or something like that? What was the name of
Module
that?
resource. Module
Module resource.
resource is the table that we're querying. So select all from module resource. Yeah, this will tell us the project name.
Yeah, ID
Module
is on
name. It's
there.
called module name. That's
Okay.
why. So it's ID and then module name. So it is ID. That's cool. Let me get back to that. Module where, not project name, module name. Let's save that. Let's try running this again. There we go.
Didn't give you
It didn't give me anything. Really?
it just says it ran, yeah. Sometimes those SQL things they do that. They don't give you the results. They just say, yeah, I ran.
Oh, goodness. Did I select
That,
it to
that's
return
absolutely useless.
data? There.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's my fault. I want a string output. Um, Primitive types are not supported on this step. Um, Give me data rows then. All right, give me data rows. I'll work with that. Still doesn't like that.
Hmm.
Well, I'm
I
getting it
think I
by the
ran this
flow
before.
run ID. So
I can run
that
a query real quick and just see what that
I
grab the
think
flow
what
ID
the
is.
problem is, I'm doing current flow ID instead of just the flow ID or
Oh,
the I think I'm grabbing the wrong ID here is the problem because the current flow ID might I wonder if that's related
shouldn't
more
that
to
be
the
your
tracking
top
ID.
flow? I don't know. Maybe it is just the current one. So even if you're in but still, that shouldn't matter for your purposes because you're not nesting into any flows.
Right. And you know what? I don't actually have to do it like this. If I'm setting up this logic in whatever flow that I'm making anyway, I can literally just put it as a constant, right?
Right.
Yeah, I can just do that real quick, just for the sake of example. And then it's going to be constant. Ah, doesn't like that.
So it's still just not outputting anything
It isn't. I'm going
in
to do
that
one
step.
more fix on this just to see if this fixes it. Just to make sure they're not trying to add something before or after it. Oh, hello, where'd my... I apologize, people. My screen just froze on me. This is going to take just a moment. In the meantime, the idea behind this is that perhaps it is including more than just the flow ID when we are grabbing the ID. As we saw when we were looking in there, there was a lot of decisions native types that had stuff like decisions.core and
Yeah,
other sorts of things.
yeah,
So it
that's
might
what the
not be.
ID has on it. It has a lot of that. Yeah, it's more of a path than a
Yeah, so
specific like flow ID.
I might need to actually fetch something different or just use a like clause with this to get the exact ID. But
Okay,
the answer
yeah,
is
yeah.
yes. You can absolutely put logic into a flow to tell you what project it's in. That is absolutely doable.
Mhm.
Um,
I just have to write a SQL to do it, right? It's not available in the system. I mean, like like in the flow data, it's not
it
the
wouldn't be
project
in
name
the flow
itself,
data, no.
right?
It wouldn't be in flow data. It might be available as a service under integration internal services,
Mm,
but it
mm,
wouldn't be in the
mm.
flow data.
Yeah. Okay. I'll figure it out then. Because I'm pretty sure I've already got some queries that list all the projects, so I could probably look at that and see if I can massage it to get the flow and the project together.
Gotcha. All
Yeah.
right. Cool, cool. I'm very glad to hear that. Well, I'm going to talk for just another minute because my screen is still frozen. It's literally not letting me move my mouse. But for some reason, the audio's kept up. So this would be a good way to be able to utilize the module resource table. We have a video coming out that's going to touch on this soon. That's actually going to discuss some of the uses of the module resource table and how it's used in conjunction with other decisions tables.
Mm,
It's very handy for trying to check that all of your stuff is correctly like checked in to a repo or to try and find any missing dependencies, which V9 is a lot better about tracking than V8 was, but it's still a nice tool in case something does come up. So, highly recommend looking into this table. Eh. Apologies for this delay once again. Um, I can I can move my mouse like I'm basically like dealing out poker cards in that sort of order, and it's still not moving anything whatsoever. So we're as far as visually, we're just kind of stuck here, taking in the environment. But
I can take over there, Gregor, if you need me to, man.
okay, yeah, I can let you know when it stops acting
Yeah.
up like this.
Give me 20 seconds because I just I think I don't know if he's still in here. Is he still in here? He's not. I solved Lucas's problem on the backside and I made it in version 8. That's what I was doing in the back end. So
Oh, cool. Thank you very much.
yeah, man. I took VT's advice and just did sort arrays and did the value and it seems to be working. So yeah, if you stop sharing, man, we'll let you.
It won't. I can't do anything. Like my entire laptop screen is frozen. It's not just decisions.
I got it, man. All right,
Yeah.
here we go. Cool. Where shall I go? What are we? Where shall I pick up?
There were some Q and A's in there. I just answered James's question, but I saw some Q and A's were not answered. I think
Got it, man. Cool.
yeah.
See what we can do. All right. So, top question is from Smitha, how can how can do how can do some I'm confused about the first sentence, but something along the lines of how can I get some validations on a date field in a form? I need to compare the date entered with a value in the database. What is the best implementation? Thanks. Let's see if we can unmute you and get some clarity on that first sentence. I think it was just a small typo. How can, oh, it's probably how can I do some validations on a
Yeah,
date field?
sorry,
Okay.
that was
No, it's okay.
yeah.
No, it's okay. All right. So let's go over here and let's talk about it. So when you say the date is from a database, it's an internal database in decisions or an external one?
External, but
Okay.
for demo, I can you can help me with anything. But yeah, it's just a basic form, and date can be in any format. In the sense that it can be a time format in the database. So how do I? What is the best implementation? Basically, how can I compare whatever they enter using the form? Say I have to make a validation that it should be greater than what is
Yeah.
what they've entered or something like that. Some basic.
All right. Almost there. Put a button on this. All right. Let me name this date. Geez, can't type validation. All right. So it's probably going to be something in this world. Almost certainly you're going to have an active form flow validation on date. You can have it run at startup. We're just going to have it when the value gets changed because by default it's going to be blank. They have to change it to submit it. So let's talk about, let's kind of reverse build it. Let's kind of reverse build it. We're going to start here and then kind of talk about the date. The first kind of process is whenever you set validations, you want to clear them as well. So in an active form flow, we have the ability to set and clear validation. Just remember, whenever you set a validation, you're going to want to clear it. When you set the validation, you're going to say on what form control. You can say, okay, form data, and it's going to be the date time picker. And the validation issues, I can just make these a constant and make it fatal, saying this date is wrong, fix it. It doesn't really matter what the logic is. I'll let you kind of assign the logic. On clear validations, you're not going to have that message. You're only going to select the control. So date time picker. Okay. So now we kind of have a reverse built out logic. at least to start it. When it comes to the two dates, right? The first date you're going to want to pick is the form data, the date time picker, and the value. And again, your logic can be any which way you want it to be. I'm just kind of like, again, kind of building into the darkness here. But when it comes to getting data from a database, right? There's a number of options you might have to get that data. But let's see if we can just find something that outputs a data time here. Well, actually, we'll do a count. And again, however you choose to get the data, right? You have a number of options there. You have a number of options there. You can add more fetch criteria here to get a single item, which is probably what you're going to want to do. So, but for just simplicity, right? You're going to want to get the date, however you can get a singular date down. So I might say, I know that I'm getting a certain account and I'm going to use at least my brain logic was I can go entity results created on date first, right? So that I can get a single date. And within my fetch entities, I might say, okay, I want the fetch criteria to be where the email address equals this email that I'm on right now, which I believe is admin@decisions.com, I believe. Might be admin@admin.com. I'm not too sure. Let's see if I get any data here. And let's just see if this works. And if it works, we can kind of talk about kind of the construction of it. So the data is wrong, fix it, right? Because I fetched the date and I know that, let's look at when this account was made so we can kind of follow up on that. This account, admindecisions.com, was created on 10/29. So hypothetically, if I pick a date before 10/29, oh, gotta go and run the flow actually to get those active form flows to work. If I pick a date, after 10/29, it's going to give me a validation. But if I pick a date before 10/29, it's cleared and I can submit the form. So again, your path of least resistance is an active form flow where the value's been changed. One of your fields is going to be the form data, date time picker value, and the other one is going to be however you decide to get that data from the database. Does that make some kind of sense, or what part of that can I elaborate
Yeah,
on?
sure. That's good. And if I have to, if I have to pick a value, if it's like a array or something, right? Like from the database, if I have to match it with a particular value, how did you get one particular account here?
I added a fetch criteria. So
Uh-huh.
I went, so like by default, a fetch entities is always going to give you a list of account, always,
Correct.
or list.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be
Right.
of account. I just happen a list of type. I went through and I added a fetch criteria, right? That I knew would only give me one result because I know that
Okay.
I only have one email address. And I can even
Got it.
do something along these lines to make it a little more dynamic where I can go, again, email address, rather than making this a constant, I can say, oh, well, I only want it to be, based on the flow data, the person who started this thing. Like you can still get that information dynamically.
Got it.
So then, and again, this is going to output a list, but because I know that it only got me one item, I can go first right here. First as an extension, because no matter what, like it's an easy way to break a list into a single item is to just use the first. I could just pick the last too. It would still work. The
Right.
reason why
Right.
first and last is going to work because there's only one item. Their first item is the same as the last item.
Got it. Yeah. For me, I can give it as an input and compare it with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can give it as an input. Yeah, you can, correct. You can give it as an input, or you could even perform logic in this world to get it down like right in here. You could even perform logic to get it down to a singular item too. Like, okay, well, I'm fetching all entities, but I only want the entities with a number of rules, whether it be some rule set truth table, a series of rules, a string equals kind of thing, or list contains. I mean, there's just a number of ways you can get from a list to your object, but that's just logic that's going to be unique to your particular use case. It's going to be real unique. But again, if I fetch based on a certain thing, I can add all of these fetch criteria and I can add multiples. I can say I want it where the email address equals a certain thing, but also, you know, uh, the last name is, my last name. And then, obviously it's only going to find one email, but, and this will actually find no email. So it'll give me no results, because I don't have an email or I don't have a name assigned to my account. But that's how I would look at it. I don't know if that answers your question, or if you give me more guidance, I can gladly walk in the direction you want me to.
I think this is very helpful. I'll try using this. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Like I said, yeah, just remember whenever you set validations, you always need an option to clear validations, or you're going to be kind of stuck in this loop of people having to close the form and reopen it, which is not a good user experience.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I
You're
should
very,
mention. Oh
you're
no,
very-
you're good. You're good.
okay. We'll keep on rolling here. And I appreciate everybody's patience too. I know we're kind of got a lot of questions today. The Q&A is going also. Let's make sure these people are still in here. What kind of take them? They are. Okay. Tapan Sood, I'll allow you to talk. So the question is related to, is it possible to get files from an online location like a server or say AWS S3 bucket and store it in a truth table at a scheduled interval of time automatically? There's a couple parts to kind of dissect there. Let me reread it. Indecisions. I know that Smith actually works in S3 quite a bit, so I know that there's an S3, definitely S3 functionality. I'd have to kind of, and for everyone in the room, if you want to read the prompt as well, I'm putting it in the chat just so everybody can read it. I think I put it in there. Yeah, I put it in the chat so everyone can read it and we can kind of decipher it together. It's not a super complicated ask, but it's got multiple stages there. Indecisions, is it possible to get files from an online location? Yes. And then store it in a truth table at a scheduled interval of time automatically? Almost certainly. It's going to take a little bit of noodle in here, but I can definitely mess with it. And I did unmute you as well. And if you want to give, is it, just so I can get it, is it Tapan?
Yeah, this is Tapan Sood.
Tapan.
Yeah.
Okay, let me write that.
And I work with Lucas, so, who was here earlier. So
okay.
Yeah, we were just discussing, and I had this question because we have some requirement in future where we may have to implement some sort of this thing.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to get clarification that if it is possible out of the box and we don't have to build anything custom.
Yeah, let's see if we can build something here. So I'm kind of reverse engineering here. So I'm going to start at the back at a scheduled interval of time. So we're going to make it a scheduled job, new scheduled flow, just to make it kind of work in reverse here. I see the chat's going crazy here. And Smithy, if you want to go ahead and elaborate, she says that they do this in their projects. You store data in the database. You're more than welcome to kind of fill in while I'm talking here, building here.
Oh, you guys help me, so I'm sure you're the best.
Oh, I'm definitely not, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you some kind of hope, yes, we did use S3 and we connect with AWS, etc. But one thing is we did have to assign roles, IAM roles, with the proper access. That's where I think Greg, or I'm not, and his team helped us out. We were not able to connect, and we had to give the correct permissions and stuff. That's the only challenge we faced. And after that, yes, we were able to access data. And for our project, we had to store it in our database. But I'm sure we could store it wherever we want to after reading the files from S3.
Yeah, we need to, we have some truth tables where, say we are getting some list on, say, daily basis or monthly basis or weekly basis, and that list is updated and we use that list for our rules. So we are using it for running some rules. So we need to use that as an input to some of our workflows.
All right,
Yeah.
so I just picked a
And
random flow. Go
and
ahead.
we did it as a scheduled job, so even all that works great.
Okay, no, awesome. Thank you.
I'm just change. I knew this flow was blank. I didn't want to backtrack. I'm just going to change the name of this real fast. All right. So now we have this scheduled flow. Just kind of to backtrack a little bit. I made a scheduled job that runs once a week. Right there, scheduled jobs. On job runs, once a week. So this flow will run once a week. So we're kind of starting at the tail end of that challenge or the problem. Scheduled job checked off. All right, so then is it possible? Yes, is the front half. So is it possible? Yes. And then let's talk about the middle part. Store it in a truth table. Okay, so we want to store it in a truth table. Can you elaborate on, you're talking about, so like with a truth table,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we want to, let's see what the difference between these are. I'm guessing these are the same. It's kind of like a pick or create form or add task. I'm guessing these are pretty similar. Run truth table option. Done. Let's just do pick or create. No, let's do run. No, we'll pick or create. So this is where you're going to want to live right here, probably external data truth table, where it says
Yeah.
row data originates. So
Okay.
all right, we'll close out of this for a moment. Kind of just do our due diligence here. And then you want this truth table to perform an action, or what is your end goal after the truth table? Just to
Yeah. Once we have it, then we have another, say we have another flow where we can refer this truth table for some validation of the rules. So for example, say in this truth table, say some names and email addresses are coming, and or some email addresses and phone numbers are there, and we don't want to say send emails to those email addresses, but we get that list on daily basis. Then we want to keep that email list up to date so that users don't have to go and kind of upload that data manually.
And it might be because we do something similar. We have a similar functionality on our end. Like I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment so I don't share too much behind the scenes here. We have a really similar process. Let me see here if I can find it. Something called like notification flow or something. Notification. EST. This one. So this is maybe not, again, this is not exactly what you wanted, but it's just, I know that we do that, a similar functionality here where let me reshare my screen. So we have a similar functionality to your use case where we have an email that we send every day to students who are in stand-up training. And we have a report that populates a list of strings. So you could take that S3 data and off of a singular field called like do not contact, you can iterate through and this is a scheduled job. Like we have this running every single day at a certain time so that it pings, hits here, runs the report, it looks at the names not to be contacted, iterates through that list. If they're not in the list, it sends them an email. If they are in the list, it does not send them any email. It goes down the true path and kind of just iterates through and sends all the emails out.
So for our case, like we are already doing the second piece, like we have the list, we are say we have this functionality where we want to send that email or not. But the thing is right now, the data, say in this list, that is manually uploaded or manually updated. And we don't want that to happen. We want to build a process like where, the file is coming to a server, an online server or an S3 bucket or something.
Yeah.
And this source automatically gets updated on daily basis so that this does not need to be a manual task for users.
Yeah, you would just, I mean, I'm going to put a placeholder, but You could ping that S3, and like I know Smith was saying, there's some authentication and license. You got, if you want help with connecting to S3, in my non-professional opinion, I think your best use case is going, or your best path of least resistance is going to be going to um, support, just because they can actually look at your instance with you. Like us in training, we can't. I mean, this goes on YouTube, and then not just that, but like technically in training, we're really not supposed to be looking at people's projects at all. But if you submit, if you just email support@decisions.com, it'll create a ticket. You don't got to go through some portal and just say, hey,
Okay.
I need help setting up my S3, and they can do that. But then, what I might recommend is pretend this is whatever step you use to get your S3 data. You just fetch it, and if a part of that S3 data is some do not contact, that is the list you use right here, and you don't have to go through all of the steps of setting up a
Okay,
truth table.
creating the truth table and all. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because you could just say like if part of this output is a list of people that says do not contact, when you hit S3, like let's say this is the S3 step, S3 fetch step, hypothetically, right? Um, that's the list that you would then pull right here, and then you just perform a similar action. And you don't have to populate a whole truth table. A truth table is not going to be as performant as just getting a list, and then iterating through the list this way. I would think. I mean, maybe someone in the chat who's got like Vitaly or somebody who's got some more performance based brain might disagree, and they feel free to tell me, and I can run through it. But I'd really think that you're probably better off, rather than populating a truth table every day, you're probably better off just fetching that data, going through the list. Because the AWS, I mean, that S3 stuff, it'll just show up as a step down here once you kind of it'll show up as a step option once you get that connection. And you can say get S3, something along those lines. And Smith may be able to confirm that.
Yeah, with truth tables, I think it gives that visibility, right? Like what data is there. So I think that's where it is. It
Okay.
is
Yeah,
helpful
let's
to the
go.
users. I mean,
Yeah,
with
let's go.
S3, I think that is something which is gone. So that's where we were coming
Yeah.
from. We had it, I mean, and we have the truth tables. It's just that how we want to update those truth tables, and that's where we were thinking, okay, no, but this is interesting as well, because we'll definitely look if we can directly integrate with S3.
Yeah, and once you make that connection, I mean, the truth table would work for you, no problem. I don't have an S3 connection, but once you make the S3 connection using external truth table, you should be able to find it up here, and then you'll have all those options as well.
Okay.
It'll show up here in an integration.
Okay. No, thank you. We'll try this out. This was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Let's keep on rolling. And thank you everybody for kind of talking and hanging out. I know this is a happy little busy little Tuesday. All right, I'm gonna roll through the chat here. Robert, yep, and you could tell Lucas that I do have a solution for him. It's been a busy one. Here's a query that will return the project name based on flow ID. I don't know who that was for.
That was for me.
Oh, okay,
when we
okay.
were going over how to fetch the project name based on the flow ID to be able to get, he wants to be able to determine what project a flow has been run from. So even if you're declaring like other projects dependent on other ones, just how to be able to get that name and understand,
Cool.
what's run there. And this is the query that would be used for that.
I put that in the chat for everyone as well. If anyone in here is wanting it, I put it because I know that James can't put it for everyone. He can only send it to us. So I put it in there for everyone if everyone wants it in the chat. All right.
That's awesome.
And then Tappan, Vitali, who's really sharp with this stuff. He said you can fetch data and save it in decisions database and then report it to have the visibility in the data. In the flow, you just fetch that data and you don't need a truth table. So you could, fetch the data, save it to decisions database, and then report on it. But it's one of those things. Again, it's a preference thing. It's if you already have it 80% built out and you just want to follow through that path methodology, please feel free. Just, with every solution, there are performance implications, whether it's better performance or lower performance. And it's just going to be one of those things. The less steps, generally speaking, better. There are some exceptions. Like if you have one rule collection filter, it's probably going to be less performant than 3 fetch entities, or some of those that make a step separate entities with it. There are some steps that are not as performant, but broadly speaking, less steps.
Mhm.
And Vitali, you were saying download file to path from integration. Oh, okay, that's part of that same prompt. Okay, I'll just kind of keep rocking here, everybody. Go back to Q&A because we're kind of all over the place. All right, so we got all of those clear. I think we're clear on the chat. Someone please chime in or raise your hand or something if I missed your chat question, because we had like 100 messages in there. Not 100, but we've had a lot of messages in there today. Any other final questions? I know we got a couple more minutes. I'll gladly maybe give some insight. Like I said, we got some of the smarter folks in the customer realm on the customer side that can give us some insight too. You know, those are my favorite sessions, is when people can kind of chime in and be a little more communal, because really, you know, just to be fully honest, a lot of you guys probably have more build experience than I do, because you're building full time and I'm training full time. Yeah, let's see if anything else is popping up in the QA or anything like that.
It's recommending also to create a Lambda to be triggered when S3 is updated, so you can see almost real data and decisions.
Go ahead, Vitali. Go ahead and just give him whatever insight. I unmuted you. You feel free to speak in. Speak some truth to existence here.
Yeah, it's just a suggestion. If you want to see data in decisions, you can do something like that, just to trigger, because otherwise you would not see it anyway, even with the truth table, until it runs on the scheduled job. So it's not going to be useful.
So he's saying that that truth table, until the scheduled job's running, it's not going to be live. It's going to be it'll only update when the truth table scheduled job runs. If you create a Lambda to be triggered when S3 is updated, you can see real time data and decisions.
Also,
And,
oh, you go.
also on that integration HTTP download file to path, I mentioned that because the question was from some resource, doesn't have to be S3. And also in S3, you can do something like pre-signed access. So basically you pre-sign access to a file which will be live for whatever you define. And you can hit that link, download it. You don't have to have any integration and decisions with AWS services.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, no, all interesting solutions. Thank you so much. We'll try. We'll see like how it goes. Otherwise, I'll be back
Yeah, no
in
problem.
this forum, and we'll clarify again. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, looks like we're clearing the chat and the QA. We're almost at, a full hour. If anyone's got any final questions, I'll gladly take a look at it. But if nothing pops up here in the next couple of moments, we might just go ahead and call it a happy little day here. We'll be back tomorrow with Jeremy, I believe. But yeah, feel free to reach out, training@decisions.com or support@decisions.com. If you just email support@decisions.com, it creates a ticket and they'll get back to you and they can look at your stuff with you too, which is, a better option. As I look across the room right now, there's, 50 people in support, and there's me and Greg over here. So you might just get a better, quicker solution going through support, which is more head count. Yeah. And I'll go ahead and I think we're gonna go ahead and end it because no one's populating any questions. I appreciate everything. I learned a lot today too, which is always like the best lunch and learns is when everyone's learning. So thank you guys. Tavin, you could tell Lucas, I do have that solution. I remade it in version 8 for him. I tried importing that version 9 into a version 8 and it failed for me too. So I remade it while Greg was hosting the first half. So I'll send him an email here in the next 5 minutes or so.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys. Enjoy
Thanks.
the rest of y'all's
Bye.
day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.